says if it's written in a way with apostrophe, I say of Jesus, or of Francis, or something like that into the S. Otherwise, you kind of fit in your mouth a little bit.
So are you saying that English should go back to having noun cases?
Yeah, it should have it.
Yeah, I'll send you all in the next.
English can have a lot that the Spanish can come up with some words better than English.
They can. Well, yeah, Spanish also has a language academy that regulates how the language is spoken across the entire world of Spanish speakers. English doesn't have that. We're like, it's like the goulash languages. Does it fit in the pot? Yeah, toss it on in. You don't change it. It adds to the flavor here, you know. So but does it help you all in any kind of way in having this relationship? Because it's going to really become apparent once we get into this week's main subject is prepositions, and they are prepositions in Greek are highly dependent upon the noun cases that they're in. But don't fear them yet, because they're not that bad. Okay, so getting to workbook exercises. So starting off with parsing exercise number 1. Agape. Does anybody want to take a stab at how to parse this?
The agape.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The case is got a little line under there.
Okay.
So I'd say it's dative case.
Yeah, and what's the clue? Yeah. That little sucker there is going to be our culprit to let us know that this is going to be dative.
Let's see, the number is on a singular.
Yeah, because what would this be if it were? We would have this if it were plural, correct? Yeah.
And then the gender is feminine.
Okay, and we know this because of the eta? Yeah.
Feminine.
And the lexical form, which would be how it would be in the dictionary?
It would be without the iota.
Exactly. Exactly.
Agape, and then you'd have the effective meaning means to love.
Yeah, to love, or it could be to a love. Yeah, because if to love would be a verb, so you'd have to have like the indirect in English to make that a noun. All right, wonderful. All right, can I get another volunteer for this word? And I want you all to pronounce it from here on in too. Close. Almost. Okay, we have our syllabification here. Want to give it a try now? Say again? No, you're adding a vowel. Ku, ri, ois. Kuriois. Yeah. Yeah. All right, and Rachel, you want to give a stab at what case this is in? Okay, and why is it dative plural?
Because the OIS, the Omicron, the Omicron iota epsilon.
Oh, sigma.
What? Epsilon. Sigma.
Yeah.
Omicron iota sigma is the ending for both the dative plural and the dative plural and the masculine.
Exactly. Now, what would this be if this were dative singular?
We would call it the Korean os. Dative singular. Sorry.
Yeah.
Let
me see. Sorry, my hand's killing me. No, that's right. It would be, this would switch, this would switch to that, and you would have that. I forgot, you have to, in the dative, because it swallows the iota, it lengthens the vowel to an omega, from an omicron to an omega. So that's just an aside. You don't have to, but they give you all the hints on how you can tell apart a dative singular from a dative plural. Actually, I had that wrong. It was just that. I added a new one on accident. So yeah, so that's how you end up having a dative singular. Okay, and then what's the lexical form of this word?
The lexical form is to use.
Yep, and what's the meaning, the inflected meaning of this word here? Is there one? Yep, to the Lords, yes. Yeah, perfect. All right. All right, Ruth, you want to take a stab at this one? Good. Correct, and why is that case? Why is that the case? Uh-huh. Well, good, but what is the lexical form of the word? Because that's where you're going to have the clue as to what the gender of the yeah, okay, then what would be this? Exactly. Notice that doesn't change even though we have the same ending. So you'd have to know what the lexical form of this word is to know even its parsed, what do you call it? It's parsed gender. And then what is the lexical, we already asked the lexical form, hamatia, and then what is the meaning, the inflected meaning of this word?
Listen.
Well, you don't need to put the word the in this case. Of one? This is only a guy who's only messed up once in his life? Yes, so it'd be, yeah. Okay, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. All right, dear Miranda, you get this word. First, you want to give it a pronunciation? Mm-mm. Remember, this is considered a diphthong here. Exactly. Tous. All right, and what is its, what case is this in?
This is
Okay, if you know the meaning of this word, you'll find this immediately. It's the word I always have the biggest nitpick with you saying to me all the time.
it.
Nope.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, it foils me again.
And my beautiful wife likes to put the word the in front of.
I learned Spanish first as a child, so the concept of the word, the English word the, baffled me for months.
Oh,
I even took ESL.
You don't have the articles.
This is one flashcard I could not get for the longest time. Anyway, so it foiled me. The word the foiled me again.
I thought this was funny when you just happen to be right down the line from this. Okay, so you know now we're on the list to look to see where this is exactly on your little cheat sheet. Because the endings are still the same, even though this is the article.
Oh, they are?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you're still going to be looking.
Singular.
Exactly, good.
because I was always looking at the last 3 or 2 letters.
Always the last two, or typically, if you see like an omicron or an alpha or an eta, you know not to consider that, for the most part. Okay, so now, no, actually, it's not singular. Excuse me. This is actually something a little bit different. It would be singular if you didn't have the sigma at the end. So with the sigma at the end, what is this?
Plural.
Exactly. I must have missed that. And then, what is the lexical form? In other words, what would be the word "the" in the dictionary? Yeah, something that Santa says 3 times in rapid succession.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and then, what does this word mean? What does this word mean?
Means,
Exactly. Good.
oh, okay.
Not those.
Oh, not the, okay.
Huh.
Is there a concept of those in Greek?
Yes, there is. All right, now let's go back to Mr. Lewis.
Okay. Let's see, that would, no, that's, okay,
Well, first give it a pronunciation for the class. Yeah, anthropo. Yeah, anthropo.
It's dative, plural, feminine, and I wrote the wrong word down. It's anthrope,
Okay, dative.
dative plural, feminine.
Okay, okay. So if it were plural, it would be that, and it still wouldn't be feminine.
Oh, okay, then that would be, it's masculine.
Yeah, exactly.
Masculine.
Okay, good.
Masculine, and the lexical form
Well,
would be,
is this plural or singular?
it's plural.
Well, if it's plural, we always end up having the sigma at the end.
Oh,
And then when it's singular, it swallows up because the original singular form would have had something like that in ancient Greek, but then by the time you got to Koine, you end up having the iota subscripted under the omega, so that would make this singular.
okay, singular,
Mm-hmm.
and then it would be
The lexical form would be
anthropo.
anthropos, yes. So it would just be that. And then, yep.
And then it's to the man.
To the man, exactly. To the man. You're going to stick it to the man. Okay. Now, Miss Ruth, you're up next. So give it a pronunciation, if you will. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Weus. Correct. Correct. Well, you need them gender first. Correct. And yeah, exactly. Weos. And then the inflected form meaning? Yeah, just simply sons. Yeah. Weus. Yeah. So you want to think this is first syllable, second syllable. We, us. And then accent on the second syllable. We, us.
So the H is like halfway. The rough reading one.
Okay, you'd be going the other way. Huyus. I'm going to look and see if this, I think actually the presentation has this wrong. Ruh-roh. Yeah, the presentation has it wrong. Yeah, it should be. I'm looking at my form. I got it backwards. It should be that.
Oh.
What is that, your book? How does your book show it? Other way from?
That
Does it have it this way? Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I don't even have a book on me right now. Yeah. Unless it's something I've skipped over in the years, and it could be like how we have the H after many of our W words in English, huius, and I've just completely forgotten to pronounce that. I don't know. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, huius. Whew. I've always never thought there was a hard breathing mark over there. Thank you for pointing that out.
So then the breathing mark should be the opposite way?
Yeah, this is how it should be. Huius. I've always been pronouncing it huius throughout all the years. Huius. What's that? Hui. Well, I think it would be like the English. Like this is probably this is after your time, but before y'all's time. There was a funny cartoon where one of the characters was like talking about whip. Why are you pronouncing it that way? Why are you pronouncing the W the long way? No, I just want some whip. And that's how we used to say the WH sound in English, like where you have that. This word would have once been spelled like that. Flat. Yeah, so I don't know. That's me. So y'all caught me on a long-standing, what do you call it, mistake that I've been holding to all these years.
Always.
Yes, indeed. All right. So, okay. We are now moving to Rachel on the hot seat. Mm-hmm. Correct.
Which is genitive.
Okay.
Singular.
And it is.
Masculine.
Okay, and the lexical form would be. Yep. And then the meaning of this word.
Words? No. Of words.
Yeah.
No. Genitive. Of word.
Yeah, of the word. You can put.
The word.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to remember that these rules aren't going to be hard and fast in English. You have to translate to what sounds more natural in English. So, yeah. Rarely ever would we have that grammatical form of word in English, which is rather odd. Okay. You're already going to know the meaning of this word. I didn't plan it this way. It just happened to land this way. I can guarantee you. Yes.
It haunts me.
I think we should let her skip and go on to the next one.
All right. Well, here. Well, does anybody want to give Miss Miranda a hand in this one?
Nominative, plural, neuter, lexical form will be whole. And then it's, will be, the plural, or these.
Well, it can also be.
Yeah.
Yes, this can be also, if you look at your chart, your word chart for the direct article, how the nominative or yep, it can be accusative as well. Yeah, and then the what do you call it? The lexical form would be. Yep. Oh, again, and then what does this mean? What? The. Yeah.
Still the.
What's that? Still the, yeah. You don't get to the these, those until we get into our what do you call it? I'm going brain dead already. The indicative pronouns. Okay, so next one, we have Mr. Lewis. And we got a 2x here, so this means there's two possible ways of parsing this. That's if you want to give a clue, yeah.
House voice,
Correct?
which you have, that would be negative dative,
Correct?
plural,
Correct?
masculine. Okay, and you have,
Give me a masculine or...
well, masculine are going to be neuter.
Correct. Correct. Okay, and then the...
Also. Okay, and then,
Elect-
alto.
altos, altos, and then the meaning of this word.
And then the meaning would be the same, or self.
Well, it could, but this is being that's in the dative, it's the indirect object. So give this to
them.
exactly.
To them.
Yeah. So if you remember that term dative, like dative, and it comes from the term to give. So if you give this, so then you have this would in English would be the accusative to them, which would be the dative form in English. Okay. And we're almost done with this parsing exercise. One more word for Miss Ruth. Mm-hmm. Or I'm going to blame you for that one. It's all your fault. There you go. And this is a singular plural? Or, yeah, this one's a wonky one. And then what is the gender? Correct, and you know this how? Yeah, there you go. All right, and what you just mentioned, the lexical form, which you just chop off that sigma there. And then what are the two different possible inflected meanings to this? Correct. That's one. And so that'd be, you got the accusative, then what would be this? Correct. Correct. So you got the curveball there, Ruth. All right, sweet. You'll plow through this as if it were nothing. I am highly impressed with y'all. Man. Okay, now we're going to start doing some parsing phrases here. Anybody want to take a stab at what this means in its inflected forms?
It's not in the book.
It's in the workbook. This would be page, what's the pages you're working on, Ruth? 15.
Oh, those down there.
Yeah.
Okay. Angelos Kyriou.
Mm-hmm.
It means angels of the Lord.
And how many?
An angel of the Lord.
Yeah. There you go. I like that you can get that because most people wouldn't get that because this is there's no article, so you can actually drop in the indirect article there. Well, actually, no, excuse me. Because, the angel of the Lord. Actually, no, you could. You can do either which way, but the easiest way is angel of the Lord. We're going to get into something later, which I don't want to confuse you on. It's called a predicative nominative. That I'm going to leave that off there for now, but yeah, that's exactly it. Angel of the Lord. And the key is we've got that in our genitive. This is in our nominative. So this is the subject, angel of the Lord. Okay. Oh, and if you don't have a verb going on, then when you have a genitive relationship, then it becomes like the house of the dog, dog house, if that makes any sense. Okay. Anybody want to take a stab? I want you all both, if you're going to do this one, try to pronounce it and parse it.
Onen, angolon.
Okay, great. And what is the meaning?
Onen, voice, angel, angolon.
Yes, and what would... Yeah, that's one way to put it. Or you can have the of relator. So exactly right. Angels' voices are the voice of angels. Okay, wonderful. Okay. Anybody want to try to give this one a stab? Ruth, you've been quiet.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Correct. And we know what these two words mean no matter what. Yeah, but you're going to see the interesting function that I told you, how the can be something other than the in Greek. Yeah, so you know this is going to be of Christ, yep. And then what's this word mean? And what case is this in? Okay, so good. So now if you know that's nominative, that's genitive, how would you then translate this? And we have the article here, so you'd add the word. Exactly. Now here we have the word the functioning as the word of. But you don't have to have the word there, the functioning as of. It's just the indicator of the genitive case. But you can look at it being of, if you will. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to give you you've had this word in your vocabulary, but it has a different meaning than normal. But I'm going to help you out with it, but I want you to try to parse this first. So do you want to give this a stab, Rachel?
So its original form is Camille.
Mm-hmm. Which means?
Is heart? No. Yeah.
Time.
Time? Yeah.
Kairos, yeah, kairos, but not kairos, okay. And in this parsing, this means more like to continue. Okay.
Okay. So the who puts it, Upsilon puts it in the refer to my article.
This becomes automatic after a while. What's that? It's a genitive, correct? So that's. Oh, actually, no, sorry. Not this doesn't mean continue. Forgive me. It could. I almost went brain dead. To continue, that would be a verb form. I always went brain dead. So this just means of time. So excuse me on that. But you did get it right. You got the initial part.
So it's of time because it means time.
Yeah.
It's in the genitive.
Okay, good. So you know that means of time. So you got your first parsing. This word, do you remember? This was just on today's.
That's sin.
Correct. And then a parsing would make it. Mm. Hey, yeah.
And that we're not worrying about that right now.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. So this, yeah. You don't have to worry about the. I'm not worried about feminine. We're more worried about translations right now.
So we've got
dative.
two sins.
Yeah, or to the blank. To the
sins of time.
Exactly, or more like of the time. This would be what kairos would more mean, not like what time of the day is it. To the sins of the age, if you will, would be another word.
Specific time.
Yeah. But you'd use ion for the ages. So
My translation was more, two times sins.
2 times the sins. Yeah.
Also had this one.
All right. I'm going to give this one to Lewis because this is a tough one. Because I want to give that to you.
Phone, theo, kai, look, anthropo.
Correct.
The voice of God and not of men.
Correct. So this is phone. This is your vocabulary this week. We got the oo ending, so you know that's going to be genitive singular. The voice, or voice, you could have of God, and get very familiar with this word. It's probably one of the most repeated words in Greek. And ook, remember, that's one of the words meaning not, so we just recently had that. And then we've got, once again, our upsilon at the end, so we know that's going to be genitive. So voice of God and not of men. All right, I'm going to give the next one to my dear lovely wife. Oh, wait, I thought this was going to be easy. Hang on, what is this? Oh, yeah, that was for me to break it down. Yeah, do you want to go over that previous one where I write it down, or nah? Okay, baby love. Correct. To. Nu.
Okay. First letter is the.
Correct.
Time.
No.
Kurios.
Kurios, yes. Kurios is not time. Kairos is time.
Lord.
Correct. Well, Lord, yes, but singular. So we got this. Yeah, the Lord. And when we have that ooh, what's this going to tell us this is?
What? The nominative?
No. When you start seeing that ooh, start thinking genitive. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the Lord of.
Mm-hmm. Huranu. Huranu.
What?
Huranu.
So on the last word, the O and the U, I'm sorry, the omega and the.
Mm-hmm. Matches this.
Okay.
So this tells you, if you have the of, what does that make this in that case?
Genitive.
Correct.
Okay.
So these are always going to match. You're always going to have a match between your article and your case ending. Because here it's just, they don't do hos. That means something totally different in Greek.
Article is always going to match.
Yeah. But this, you probably don't remember your vocabulary word, right? So if you want to open up your lexicon to the back, it's other your hardcover book. Yeah. This is a very important word. I want you all to get used to referencing your lexicon here, in case you're running into a word you're not familiar with. I always kept that there to mark the beginning of the lexicon. It's going to start with Omicron. Now we're going to have to move on soon. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get much into our translation. In the meantime, does anybody want to help Miranda out with the meaning of Uranu?
Of heaven.
Yeah. Yeah. Uranos is sky or heaven.
Uranus.
Uranos. Yeah.
But where's the sigma?
Well, this is the lexical form will have the sigma.
Oh.
Yeah. So in the nominative form will have the sigma. So keep on looking in your. Yeah. I want you to get used to doing that. Okay. Next, we have a parsed verb here for you. So see, this is a group exercise here. Obseste ten doxan kuriu. Oops.
And already going to be
Don't no, don't blame me.
oh, the kids that the singular.
Yeah, remember you have verbs because in the verbs you're going to find out this word collapses into the verb. So this technically is your subject. So that becomes the verb then functions as the nominative here. And we've already covered this word, so do we know what this means? I'm sorry, say again? Which one would you go for?
Lord.
Yep, okay, and then we have our ending is? Correct, so that would be?
Lord
No, singular.
of the Lord.
There you go. Okay, now we just need to parse that. You will see the blank of the Lord. Think about what's the song we sing at the end of service? What's it called? Okay.
Glory, praise,
First word?
glory.
Yes. Good. And then you'll have, yeah. You will see the glory of the Lord. My chicken scratcher, yeah. Yeah. You're going to find out this word means a lot more than just glory or praise, too, in Greek, as we get along. So. All right, let's see here. Try to look at our time here. Yeah, I think we're going to have to get into our exercises here. But I'll do a quick little exercise here, because we've had all these words. Anybody want to just quickly try to translate that?
Okay. Jesus said to them,
Yes. Yes. That's one way, or spoke, or yeah. So we have our subject here, so that's going to go up front in English. That's our subject. And we know we have here, this is our object, but it's actually the dative form. So we know that's going to be to them. And we've already had, this means he, she, it, said. And we know since it's Jesus, it's going to be he. So you could say Jesus, he said to them, or you just collapse out the he, Jesus said to them. But now we're seeing how the word order goes. So we're only going to do a couple of these exercises before we move on to the next lesson, because we're running short on time. Okay. Okay.
The boom are going to be articulative.
Yeah, so that's going to be the what? Yeah, the word. And we have autois. So we know this is going to be our subject. So what?
Our choice is going to be
Yep. The big clue is when we have this iota sigma. Dative, exactly. Okay, and then this is our pronoun here, so that would be to them. Yep. And we already got the word here. He, she, it was speaking. Correct. And you would have to have a name in here, so we could just say, let's see here, trying to think of how. I don't know if you can even pronounce. Oh wait, no, I'd have to go from the actual Hebrew. So that's you. Rachel. Okay, and I think we'll just do one more and call it a day. Anybody want to take a stab at this?
Okay. You do not have the love of God.
Correct. And give me a parsing on here. Where's our subject here?
The subject is you have it. You have.
Echete, yeah.
You have. Okay.
And then we have our subject, so we know that's going to be. And then where's our object here?
Agape.
Yep, that's our object. And then, but this is also the verb, so that means we also have another relationship here.
You do
Yeah.
not have the love of God.
So that's our genitive, yeah. So you, and then here's not. You not have the love of God. And interesting how it comes out, the love of God not you have. That sounds like Yoda speaking. If you want to do a direct. All right, so from here, I'm going to go ahead and let you all finish up your workbook exercises, and we're going to go and move on to this week's lesson. So, was this very helpful going through all this? Yeah, there's a class. Okay, great. Okay, and there's a ton more for you all to go over. And if you want, you're more than free to take a picture of your workbook and send it to me, and I can send it back to you marked up, okay? And let me get us to our next. Okay, so chapter 8 is going to be under prepositions and the verb eİmī. And the word eİmī, Hamlet would love this word. Eİmī or uk eİmī. To be or, yeah. Exactly. But we're only going to cover this verb in one specific application at this point in time. We're not going to be moving on to verbs for another couple weeks. All right. Also want to reiterate all this is in your books too. So I appreciate the note taking, and if need be, I can also send you all the PowerPoints too, or at least even the link where they're all at if you want to go that far ahead in class. All right. So prepositions, something we have in English all the time. They demonstrate relationships between two words, such as in spatial relationships, like the rabbit can go in the rabbit hole. The cup is sitting on the table. We are on time to our appointment. Here, John became before Jesus. So we have all the, in fact, this is something I want to hand out to you all here, is I've got me a very handy dandy preposition chart that you all are going to want to paste on your wall of your desk. Yeah, you have it on your chart there, but this is a little bit bigger, so it's a little bit more handy. So, I just went brain dead on my own lecture here. I'm sorry, it's been a long day. The prepositions are always going to modify the objects. So you have the subject, preposition, So the subject, the rabbit, can go in the rabbit hole, the object. So prepositions always modify the object, or at least they're giving directions as to how the verb is acting upon the object. I'm going to pass these out to you all. Like the money goes into the purse. Thanks. Rachel threw the ball to her sister. Or Miranda put the hat on her head. So that's what the function of prepositions are in every single language. And what we're going to have are prepositional phrases where we're working at with we'll be working with parsing, is you can break down a sentence into separate phrases. So Miranda threw the ball to the pitcher. To the pitcher is a phrase in and of itself, and that becomes a prepositional phrase. And that's we're going to be functioning on hugely in this session. So then moving on to the predicate nominative in Greek. This is something nobody, I think only Miranda was here in the first class where I showed a video that went over this, where we end up having, well, Greek uses this function called the predicate nominative, and it predicates something about the subject. You're going to run into this hugely. It's basically either an implied to be, or it's how to best put this? It is a function where you have a calling out to the subject rather than to the object. And it only exists in very, very few ways in English, such as it is I, rather than the more common used form is it is me. And we're going to have this in certain translation issues. So, but Greek does use this predicate nominative a lot. And where you're going to run into this is times where you're going to have where you will see actually two words in the nominative case in a sentence. And it gives distinct meaning where it'll add a certain word, which we'll get to later, that will be otherwise missing. It's in other words, how you end up determining what word will be the subject in certain sentences where it's not going to be instantly clear, which we'll cover here. And I've got a funny video covering this whole thing that I saved for y'all. So the prepositions and the cases, I'm going to give you a nice little breather here. We do not inflect prepositions in Greek. They stay the same. But we're going to run into this. They still do play around with the case meaning. So some prepositions are followed by the same case. In other words, some prepositions are only going to be followed by certain cases, and others can have multiple cases. So as we've already seen, the dative case is typically going to be to the man, to the Lord. So we're going to have instances such as the preposition apo means away from in the genitive. And then the word pros means to or towards, with in the accusative. But you can have certain prepositions, meta, that can mean it can mean with in the genitive case, or it can mean after in the accusative case. And you'll end up having some that can even take up to 3 cases. Oh, my notes are not, I had notes in this. Okay, and where I wanted to show you all is an example where this takes place. Good thing I remember this. No wonder I couldn't remember my lesson. I had notes and they're not showing on my slide here. This is a very famous work of scholarship from antiquity. Anybody want to try to pronounce this and see what it means, given that?
Metata, Ukia, Uka, Usoika.
Fusika, ta metata fusika. And what do you think that means? Okay, first we got to know what.
Is going to be nominative or accusative.
Okay, correct. So, but we have this.
Okay, so it's going to be accusative.
Okay, correct.
After.
And this is the word you don't know. In English, after the, in Greek that means natural. So we know this word in English as, but it was actually the title of Aristotle's second work, Ta metata fusika. His first work was called Ta fusika. The natural, exactly. And that whole field of study comes from that. So now you can see how that plays along. Thought that was something to nerd up on there. So our prepositions can change meanings depending on the case endings or the inflection of the nouns that they're prepositioning. They're prepositioning, there we go. So the advice is make separate flashcards. So you can have meta in the genitive means with, meta in the dative, I actually have that backwards, in the accusative means after. Now it's a really good, sorry, I'm getting a little bit tired here tonight. It's a really good indicator of how to memorize that. Because my note cards, I ended up putting like double lining it, and it tended to overwhelm my thinking. So it took a lot longer to memorize the different uses. I'm trying to, oh yeah. I just went brain dead, sorry. Give me a moment. My notes aren't showing up here, so, okay. So, we don't want to use our keywords. So normally our keyword in theou, knowing that this is genitive, would be of God. And we know apo from the previous conversation means away from. So we wouldn't say away from of God. We would just say away from God. So prepositions don't, that of relationship or that to, you don't always have to write that out. So we're going to be really banging into your heads here. We're more seeking natural use of English rather than like an interliner. Has anybody seen an interliner Bible where you have the Greek and then the exact literal Greek transcriptions underneath? I'll bring one with me next week. You don't want to do this like an interliner. Okay, now we have the good news. Prepositions do not inflect. They do not have case endings, but they elide. Elide means they combine together and they typically drop a letter, kind of like we do with cannot becoming can't. Will not will mean won't, and so on and so forth. So here we have meta auton. The Greek would end up dropping, would not pronounce that A at the end. They would just, you would have metauton, kind of slurring this together in a way. You'd end up having this apostrophe mark here. So yeah, so metauton, you would just do this. It would still be a separate word. And you'll see this a lot. You're getting me to yawn there, Rachel. It's okay. All right. And then if this meta ends up before a word that starts with a vowel with a hard breathing mark, you end up substituting the tau with a theta. So you end up having meth humen, not met humen, because that's kind of clunky in Greek. Meth humen. So you're going to run into this elision, the eliding a lot in Greek, combining together of words. In fact, you'll run into it in apo. A lot of times it'll just end up becoming, so let me see here. Apo will do it too. Auton. Instead of apo, aton. You will, yeah. I think I've said that 100 times already, that we're going to be seeing this a lot in Greek. Okay, any questions about eliding?
So is that one a rule?
Yes, it's going to be a rule. Yes, it's going to be mainly with your prepositions. And you run into this in a lot of other languages. If you want to. In French, this is the proper spelling of a certain name.
The verb?
Mm-hmm, exactly. And you've got an elision here. Normally it would be that. So it happens in other languages. It's not just something strange to Greek. Oh, there we go. I keep forgetting that I have stuff here that's better for marking up. So you have how the elisions function. So we end up dropping the alpha, putting this little apostrophe in place. From you end up having metaton, metahumen to methumen. Humon, methumon. So when we see this in our translations, once you start seeing your little apostrophe mark, think of it as exactly how you would have it in English, like a contraction, if you will. So if you want to think of an elision as kind of a contraction, that kind of works. But in English, we generally don't substitute sounds a lot. I mean, we won't change out a vowel or a consonant a lot. We do, but I think when we think of contractions, we less think of cannot, will not, to being can't and won't. I'm sorry?
You are to you are.
Yep, exactly. But you notice we only drop a letter. We're not changing the U to something else. I don't know. All right. Hang on a second. I get my notes. I got to read really quick here. Me getting tired means I'm getting forgetful. Okay. All right. Ah, dear. Oops. So you already have this. Okay. Assoon, that's going to be assoon with the dative always means with. And soon we have a lot in English. Like, you'll start being able to understand what that means. Okay. I'm going brain dead, excuse me. Okay. Okay, and theou is in the genitive because it is the object of the preposition apo that takes the genitive. Remember our lesson earlier, the apo means away from. And these are just different formulas we're going to have. So when you go to translate these, you're going to know that whenever you have apo, oh, and this is something else, that this is where you're going to be knowing, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. What we're going to be dealing with in our translating of Greek prepositional phrases, one of the biggest and most important things you want to do is isolate the prepositional phrase once you see it. So once you see a preposition, apo, meta, en, which is another one, one guess is what that means. Exactly. So you're going to start wanting to separate out the prepositional phrase, and you're going to want to translate that one first. So once you see the word apo, start searching for, in this case, the genitive, because we know apo takes the genitive. So look for whatever word is going to be in the genitive when you're translating. And then that's what we're going to be doing with the soon. We're going to be looking for our dative case because it means with. Okay. Anybody have any questions or need to write this down? Okay, I'll give you a minute. Let me go through and look at my notes while y'all are doing that really quick. Yeah, I got that. Yeah, so the ta metaphysic actually means like those things after the physical, if you want to really get nuts and bolts about that. Okay, I got that. Yeah, good. I did remember what I was going to say after all. Oh, tons of, yeah, okay, so I got that. I got that. There's, yeah, because, well, what is super, well, actually the better, like if you want to do a word-for-word translation, like a direct translation, hyperphysical would be supernatural.
Okay.
And then, so you'd have, let's say, I'm going brain dead. How do you do that in Latin? Almost like, almost like connatural, or after would be. Yeah, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to get off my topic here because I'm wearing out here quick. Okay. All right. As I got a ton of notes on this, I need to go back into that. Okay. Okay. So now we've got a new word here. We already know that hoti means that or which. Now we have another word, hina, which means in order to. So we end up having, what I'm talking about here is dependent clauses. So whenever you start seeing this word hoti or hina, that or which, it's usually in English we'd have a comma, and what do you call it? Rachel was shopping for shoes, comma, in order to buy a gift for her father. So the dependent clause would be in order to buy shoes for her father, or in order to study. So anytime you run into hoti or ina, they introduce dependent clauses. And what dependent clauses are clauses that are dependent upon the rest of the sentence. They can't stand alone. So they're typically not containing the subject of the sentence. And they don't contain the main verb, so they're separate from the rest of the sentence, and which I've already covered. Once you see hoti or hina, there's others that you're going to run into, other words that introduce dependent clauses. So once you start seeing these words, translate these separately. So we already have prepositional phrases. Here, we're going to have dependent clauses to work with. Make sure I got all my notes there. Yep, I got it. And then what we're going to be looking at in any of our Greek translating moving forward, because we started off with just simple words here, right? And we're already seeing that some words you can end up having, like, can translate into one single noun can translate into 3 English words. So you can almost have like a single word in Greek become a phrase or a clause in Greek. So once you start seeing your parsing going on, you're going to want to do your translation in chunks. You know, remember, we want to first identify our subject, our verb, our object. See if there's any dative or genitive cases going on, so we know if we have how the verb is acting upon the object and indirect object. Then we're going to be looking for our different dependent clauses. So you're going to be working with Greek, and you're going to be starting off with a part of this, you know, like this part of the sentence over here. But okay, wow, this looks like we've got the subject over here, and then we've got our object way over here. You'll run into that a lot in Greek. So, as we saw from what some of the translating we were doing earlier. Okay, I think we're on schedule here. So, now this is our first verb in Greek. Eİmί means to be. And in all verbs, we have 3 persons. The first person, the second person, and the third person. And then in Greek verbs, and this is where you're going to really get this, knowing Spanish, as you always have your verb stem with a personal ending at the end. So in Spanish, it would be like hablar, which would be your, what do you call it, infinitive form. Then you would have hablo, habla, hablas. You have the same function in Greek. And the verb always has to agree with the subject. So if you say, I am going to the store, that verb am going is going to have to agree with the person, the pronoun I. And here is our parsing for, or actually it's verb conjugation of the verb to be, eİmί. And this is one of the things we're going to learn in Greek. Unlike Spanish, we don't use the infinitive form as the lexical form. It's always going to be the first person singular, because the infinitive verb in Greek gets treated funky. I'm just going to leave it there for now, because I don't want to scare you yet. We're not going to run into the infinitive till much, much, much later. So we have eİmί for I am, a for you are, estin for he, she, for it is, which we saw this in some other previous forms. Esmen for we are, este for, this is what I want to do here. This is Texas. We have a pronoun that works much better. Y'all are. And esin, they are. So in my dear wife, this would be I'm trying to remember how this one goes, because you never use this in Greek. I mean, in Spanish. Está. No. Estáis, yes. Yeah. Rarely ever used. Yeah. So that's exactly how that functions in Greek. Now you get it? I told you it's going to be easy for you. And this is an irregular verb, so as to be is on almost every single language. And this is our very few irregular verbs that we have. They're still conjugated in English. We have I am rather than I be. We have you are rather than you be. He, she, it is rather than he, she, it be. We are, and then here's where we have a running together. What's that?
Thank goodness we didn't have to learn English.
Well, depending on what language you start from. But that's always one of the biggest discussions is, what's the hardest language in the world to learn? And that always depends on what your native language is going to be. So, yeah, If you're starting out with an inflected language, this is going to be very easy to learn. Greek, that is. If you start out with a non-inflected language, such as English, it's going to be difficult. A little bit difficult, I would say. But then, if you're coming in from an inflected language and trying to learn a non-inflected language, you trip up too. Okay.
It's not good that page full of alphas and
Exactly. Now, if you ever think I was hinting that English used to be the same if you read the English of Beowulf. So it's only something that disappeared by the Middle English period because of the influence of French, which French dropped their inflections much earlier than English did. So this is for nerdy stuff. Estin and Essen, the two different forms of to be, they drop the new when you get into older documents. They were added in later, but it's because they were actually pronounced. So we have English words where we have silent, or we have letters that just magically appear in the language. So it's not unheard of. But it's just if you're ever going to run into old manuscripts, you're going to run into that and that being gone. The Iliad's ancient Greek, so no, we're talking about like medieval manuscripts, early church Byzantine manuscripts. Yeah. What do you call it? Mycenaean Greek and archaic, or if you will, like that'd be something like Attic Greek. We're much more complex than this Koine Greek we're learning. If you remember from the first class, Koine was the common Greek of the era. So it was like the lingua franca, how English is in the modern era, where you'll have people who speak English as a second language all over the world, but they don't know it like in its higher literary form, if you will. So it'll be a simplified version of the language. Okay, so we're going to go and give you this as an early vocabulary word. Hen. This is he, she, it, was. It's the third person singular in the past, the simple past tense. I think I got to look at my notes on here on the eclectic. No, I didn't put anything. Yay. Oh, yeah, I have to go back to the previous slide on what the eclectic says. Oh, yes, it's going to be in certain instances where you're going to have, say, a scene alto. You'll end up dropping the accent. Instead of scene alto, it would be an alto. An alto. Does that make any sense? This goes away when you're dealing with verbs. It's not going to go on it's not going to disappear off the hen, but it will off of your estin and estin, and your other different verb parsings. Okay, and I do believe, okay. Sorry, I am really running out of steam. Forgive me today. So the predicated nominative is going to be dealing with, in the form of a pronoun, it's typically going to be dealing with a articular noun, or proper name, something that's going to have the word the in front of it. Like instead of something like just simple a table or a chart, it's going to be something that's going to be like the Lord or Rachel, for example. So typically like the Lord. And what the predicate nominative ends up becoming, standing in for the pronoun rather than the article. So instead of being like the word the, it could be the word he or she or it. So that's what the pronoun wins over in number 2. And why this becomes important is certain words like this. Hotheos estin, see, we don't have our accent there. Estin kurios. How would you translate this? It would be, the Lord. Yeah, he is the Lord. So it would be like God is the Lord. Because a lot of times if you don't have here, the normal rule would be, when you're translating it, would be God is a Lord. So here, it takes place in being, this ends up inferring the article. And here we don't have the word the God, we just put God in this instance. And I got a funny video for you all. If it did, is it still here? Let me see here. Let me see if I can dig it up somewhere else. Oh, there it is. It's there. I just didn't see the player. You gonna play? Well, let me do this from another direction. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? And you're gonna love this. Oh. Let me back this up a little bit then. This cast. Okay, I know what to do here. One moment. This funny video is going to be very handy in presenting. No. Extend. Yeah. Okay, there we go. And communicating the predicate nominative. Hang on. Trying to get this to present. Okay. You remember all the fun we had back in our
Anything significant?
There it goes, finally.
Oh, no, nothing major. Things like...
Yay, fun.
Just a couple small things. Jesus isn't God. Wow, you're really sweet.
What?
You can hold the laptop up.
That's true, I did that last time. I'll turn it around for y'all. Hang on a second. I have this embedded in the actual PowerPoint, so it should be playing. Let me try to throw that in there again. Okay. Come on. There we go. So I thought you'd like this, Luce. You've heard this before?
Okay, Patrick, so apart from this, you have to call God Jehovah bit. Are there any significant theological differences between us? Oh, no, nothing major. Just a couple small things. Like what? Like Jesus isn't God. Wow, you're really swinging for the fences at warmed over Arianism Stadium there, Patrick. Yeah, Patrick, go hell or go home, I guess. So tell us, O deniers of Christ's divinity, what do you make of John 1:1, which states, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God?
Actually, the correct translation is, and the Word was a God, which only proves our point. For more information, please read some of our literature.
How dare you, Patrick? What? You're talking to a couple of 5th century Irish peasants here. You know good and well we're both hopelessly illiterate. Yeah, Patrick, quit pamphlet shaming us.
Wait, you can't read?
Not a word. Now let's dive into the grammar of John 1:1 to address your terrible translation. So, in Koine Greek, there is a series of words for the definite article known in English as the. However, there is no word for the indefinite article a. On account of this, whilst translating, it's common to add the indefinite article before a noun if the definite article is missing. For example, Matthew 5:14, you are the light of the world, a city set on a hill cannot be hidden.
Exactly, and there's no article before theos in John 1:1c, which is why we translate that section as, and the Word was a God. So clearly John is saying that Jesus wasn't the God, but was only a God. In other words, a very holy but lesser being.
Except he's most clearly not saying that, Patrick, which you might have realized if you hadn't dropped out of Greek 101 after 15 seconds and ordered a powerbomb the Nicene Creed. So let's dive back into the text.
The text that you can't read.
Yep, that's the one. Now, in Greek, nouns have declension, which is a fancy way of saying that nouns change a bit based on the function they serve in a sentence. For example, when the word silver is the subject of the verb in Greek, the word is argoros. When it's the object, however, it's argurio. This is boring. Yeah, I know, Colin, but we gotta slug through this stuff to refute the Jehovah's Witnesses. You brought her to whippersnap, whatever. Now, things get a wee bit tricky on the declension front when it comes to the verb to be, which is known as a linking verb. Now, as opposed to a regular verb which connects two completely different nouns, a linking verb connects two nouns which are essentially the same thing, such as the words I and Spartacus in the sentence I am Spartacus. No, I am Spartacus.
No, I am Spartacus.
Because of this, both of the nouns joined by a linking verb will be in the nominative case, making them both look like the subject of the sentence. But in reality, one of them is the subject, and one of them is what's called the predicate nominative.
This is boring.
So in a language like Greek, where thanks to declensions, you don't have to place the subject before the verb to identify it as the subject, how do you figure out which word is the subject and which is the predicate nominative? By and large, the answer is this. The word that features the definite article is the subject, and the one that doesn't is the predicate nominative. So, Patrick, in John 1:1c, what's the verb? Was. Exactly, a linking verb. And what two nominative case nouns does that verb link together?
God and Word.
Precisely. Which of those two nouns has the definite article?
Word.
Which means that's your subject. So the reason John doesn't include the definite article with God in 1:1c is because that's how you say the Word was God in Greek instead of saying God was the Word. Ergo, John is emphasizing the divinity of Jesus here, not denying.
Okay, but that's not like a universal rule of Greek grammar.
No, it's not, but since lesser gods is a concept completely at odds with every syllable of the Bible, and since Jesus is clearly identified as God in John 20, Colossians 2, Matthew 1, and Titus 2, to name a few examples, it would be absurd to translate this text in such a way as to indicate that Jesus is stuck running resurrection picket rolls on the junior varsity God squad. Yeah, Patrick, even the simplest of readers can perceive the hilarious hugeness of your heresy here.
But you can't read.
That's correct.
So you couldn't tell me what this is?
No.
Or this?
No idea. How about this? Well, if I had to guess, I'd say it's Ryland's Library Papyrus P52, the earliest known copy of John's Gospel with a section of chapter 18, verses 31 to 33 on the front and verses 37 to 38 on the back. Either that or a book about Harriet the Moo Cow. Yes, anybody.
Okay. Yeah. So I thought you all would like that. So now do you understand the predicate nominative a little bit better than I could ever teach it without a sense of humor? Okay, so...
I'm ashamed to say yes.
I wish I could do this in the morning when I'm fresh, full of energy, and fully caffeinated here. So, little hints here. Keep dependent clauses together, as I've said it, whenever you see hoti or hina as prepositional phrases, or especially prepositional phrases when we're going to have any our alpo, meta. Translate those separately, keep them together, and prepositional phrases, they often drop the article. So we ran into that apotheo is not going to be of the God. It's just going to be away from God. Okay, and then when we're doing a translating, break into phrases. If you have a full sentence, start putting in like little phrase fragments here or there in your translation. Put your main to the left, and so that's going to be anytime you're going to have a subject or your dependent clause, and then you're going to put the subordinate under the word they modify. So I'm trying to remember how to best put this. What I would say is like I'm going to go back rather than write my own stuff. I've got my own. We've got the notes here. And you'll run into this a lot of times where you're going to be seeing people translate. Come on. So we know that from our previous that this is going to be the predicate nominative. Okay, so we know that this is already going to be the Lord. Okay, so you want to keep that the main, and we already know that this is he, she, it is, but we already know that this is masculine, so we know is, that's going to be he is, and then we know in the predicate nominative that goes away, or if it's especially going to be a linking. So you're going to take this, move this here, this here. Oh, sorry, we've got that backwards. Forgive me. I'm getting tired. Yeah. Then you get rid of that, but sometimes you're going to want to move stuff around. You can actually have this say, the Lord is God. It still makes sense in English. But you're going to be doing, this one is not a good example. I wish I would have put in a better example here, but you're going to end up having times where you're going to be moving stuff around in your translation as you were. This one just happens to flow, so I wish this was a better form. I think there might have been some in that. See, I'm going to jump over to that. Yeah, the workbook practice we had earlier. I'm just going to bring it up on the slide. I still have it open. Okay, so as we said, come on. We have our subject here. That's our nominative. So you're going to move that up front. And then this is a modifying, so that's going to be going right afterwards. So you'd end up, not you have, or you have not the love of God. That's how you're going to be working with your translation a lot. And then you're going to take that. So this is where the moving comes in from, have, and then that, not the love of God. So we already know that we've already identified this as the subject, so that's your nominative, so that's where you want to put it up front, objective case in English. You have, and then we can make this from there. We can make this more natural. You don't have the love of God. So you'll be doing this a lot in your Greek translation. It's not going to be smooth, direct, linear in how you're going to translate. Any questions on this? Sweating bullets a little bit? Yeah, it's going to come natural over time. It just seems funky right now, but I guarantee you, as we went through all those different practices on the earlier classes with all the different orders that you can have, God is love, that this will make sense, because you're going to see your case endings and you're going to automatically know what that means. You're going to see words such as hoti or hina, and you're going to know exactly what to do with that. Especially as we start later on practicing with actual, yeah, exactly. All right, so that's going to be covering all the week. So we have prepositions. They are, okay, they modify the objects and they form a separate phrase. The meaning, they don't change, prepositions don't change case, but they do have meaning applied to the case. But then you don't use the keywords like the of and the to of the genitive and the dative cases. Once again, they're not inflected, but they do elide. And like the alpha at the end of meta tends to drop away, or the omicron in the end of apo tends to drop away if it's followed by a noun that starts with a vowel. And then the article is omitted. So you don't have apo tu theo, you just have apo theo. And then then they end up forming, you have the dependent clauses, the hoti and hina, that or in order to clauses. And then we went through our first verb, eİmί, that led us up to our, the word I'm looking for here, that led us up to our, I'm going brain dead, forgive me. Predicate nominative. I am really running out of steam. Do we want to go over the vocabulary? This is fairly easy. No? Yes? Maybe? Okay. Okay, where are we at? I'm just going to go ahead and present from here so I can see my notes better. So we have Allah, and this elides down into al. So if it starts with like Allah alto, would just be al alto, and that means but, yet, or rather. Apo, which we've run into, it means from or away from. And then we have our elisions here. So we also notice we have the fee. So if we have apo in front of a word that has a hard breathing mark, so like hamera, apo hamera would be af hamera. We have dia, which in the genitive means through, and in the accusative means on the account of. And this elides. So if you have dia auto, it just di auto. So we've got a lot of that elision here. So then we have our verb to be. Well, this is more specific, and it could be to be, but if you're going to be referencing the verb in general, but it mainly means like I am, I exist, I live, or I'm present. And here we have ek, which means, and it's always going to be in the genitive, it means from or out of. Like eclectic comes from the Greek word ekkaleo, means called out. And that means chosen, or the elect, and when you're doing your translations. And then if ek is in front of a word that has that starts with a what do you call it? Another, what's the word I'm looking for? Another consonant, not a vowel this time. It'll be x. And then I already kind of alluded to this. Hamera. This means day. Am I going too quick for you all? This is all in your books, mind you, at the end of the chapter. Okay, then we have N. Yeah. N, he, she, it was. Yeah. And then we have Thalassa, which means sea or lake. So if you run into thalassophobia, what are they afraid of? What? Well, the ocean, typically. And you can get mad at Marvel because they misspelled the word for their character, or shortened it. Thanatos means death. Okay, and we have hina, means in order that, or so that. You're going to run into this a lot in Paul's letters. Then we have Ioannis. One guess of what this means.
John?
Yep. John. This is a name. Modern Greek could be Giannis.
Who they have that song?
I think probably in the Turkic period. And this is Lego, like the things you don't want to step on that the kids leave on the floor. Means I say or I speak. So now you can start to say Lego Helleniki, I speak Greek. Meta, which means with in the genitive case, or after in the accusative cases we covered earlier.
That's how
Yeah. And how would you say that? Meta curious. See, now are you going to start thinking these, like, how would I say that in Greek?
probably.
Yeah. Okay, and then oikia. This means house or home. And this one's in the first declension. This is feminine. And now your favorite brand of Greek yogurt, oikos, also means house or home. Why do we have house or home mean the same thing? Now we've got it both masculine and feminine. You remember I told you that basileas and basileos means one means king and one means kingdom?
Okay.
The house of, depending on who's the head of the house. And this is typically going back to like kingships, if you will. You'll run into that a lot in ancient texts. But oikos generally means house, but it can also mean the household of. I'm from the House Atreides, if anybody watches Dune.
But we're just going to be house, employee, like.
You can have oikos or you can have domos. There's many different ways you can say it, yeah. And now you have ochlos. This means crowds or multitudes. Or you can have aklophobia. You're going to be starting to using your Greek knowledge is going to be helping you parse all these crazy words that seem like pseudo-intellectual. And you probably already know a bunch being a veterinarian.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, para. Like paraplegic. Genitive means from, or in the dative means besides, in the presence of, and in the accusative it means alongside. Mm-hmm. And then this is actually a word that you're going to run into a lot in the Bible, and I also want you to see if you can see that it has a preposition built into it, and see if you can guess what that is. Parabole. Parabole. Or I'm going to speak this in like American. Parabole. Yep, exactly. Yeah, parable. But then we also had that para, which you see there. I'll give you a quick verb introduction. Boleo means to throw. Yeah, but so we know this is from here, para, genitive from, dative beside, accusative alongside of, you're not going to want to necessarily think this is going to be in a genitive or dative. So you're going to want to think of this as like an accusative. Parabola means throw next to. Hyperbole means throw over. You're going to see a lot of that word throw in Greek, meaning it also means cast too, if you want to use ancient words. And then we have pros, and the accusative means to or towards, or with, depending on its usage. And then finally, hupo, so in the genitive means by, or in the accusative means under. So you could have hupo thermius. Yeah. And then this one elides too. And then finally, we are now up to 72 words in Greek. So you know 48% of the lexicon already in the book. And we will be tearing through that lexicon really quickly, and then it's going to be mainly application towards the end of the course. And you'll still be learning words, but these are all our important words, if you will. All right, so that's the end of the lesson. So we got a little bit behind schedule, but actually I think we've been averaging, ending at 8:30 lately. So I'd say we're right on the mark. All right, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And I got to introduce the Lutheran minister to the wonderful world of Lutheran satire. It's actually, those cartoons are actually made by a Lutheran pastor up in Ohio. His name's Hans Feeney. And they're hilarious. All of his stuff is absolutely hilarious. All right, so I want to thank everybody. I'm going to pass out another thing. So this is for you to do on your own time. Speed parsing chart. So yes, to drill yourself over the definite articles. If you want to make some copies of this before you leave, and so you want to run a bunch of the practice this, you're going to want to have your article down pat. I'm going to leave these for Bethany. And that's it. We're done for the day. Oh, workbook exercises. Can I see your workbook, baby love? And I'll include this in the email, but I'll give this to you now since it's going to be easier to tell you this. We're going to be working exercise 8. That's pages 19 through 22 for this week. And we'll meet next week, but the week after, we're taking the week off. Yeah. I actually need some time off.
Wait, the following week is July 4th.
What about July 4th?
That's a holiday.
I understand, but what about it?
On July 4th?
Is that a Wednesday?
That's a Thursday. Never mind. Sorry.
It's actually...
It's July 3rd.
Okay. I don't know. How many people are going to be in town or out of town that day? Does everybody want to meet that day, or we can take time off? I can take that week off if need be. What should be fine? I'm sorry. You good to? Okay. All right. And I think Bethany's going to be out of town at that point in time, so it doesn't matter on that accord. Okay. Yeah, we can meet on the 3rd. Well, let's keep that tentative for now, because I don't know what's going to pop up. Because I know we're going to be inviting people over our house on the 4th, which you all are more than welcome to come to. Yeah. So you're already in our small group, so. And there's probably going to be more people in our small group as summer winds down. The summertime is just everybody's out doing family stuff at that point. And of course, the Brants are, well, you know.
I actually haven't talked to my sister about whether or not we're doing.
Oh, it's right. That's right. Forgot about that.
And Louis, you're more than welcome to join us at our house on July 4th. We're going to have lamb burgers and other stuff.
Where is that at? Oh, yeah.
At our house, it's 1-5.
Oh, hang on. Shh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let me go and wind up the recording here.